Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are in one of the most awaited releases for MSFS this year, which is Leonardo's MD80. Now before I get into the topic of this video, let me thank each and every one of you for liking, commenting and subscribing on my previous videos. This channel has been growing immensely fast and I am extremely humbled by all the support that I've been getting. It is only me who does all the recording, editing, uploading and publicizing it and all of that. We don't have a team going on here, so I highly appreciate each and every one of you interacting with these videos and making sure that you're supporting the channel. So please keep doing so. If you're liking the content, I will be extremely thankful of that. With that out of the way, let's get into the topic of this video. Now this video is going to be a nice little quick start guide for everyone who hasn't flown this aircraft before, or even people who have flown this aircraft before on P3D and need to revise on how to get things going, because I've flown this aircraft before and it took me a while to get that memory back. So this video is geared towards getting you started. We'll be following some normal procedures but not going into a lot of detail, but we will be following all the checklists that Leonardo has provided in their manuals, and we'll be kind of going through where everything is situated, what all can you expect from this product, stuff like that. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and now let's fly from KATL, which is Jackson's, is where we are at right now, and we are flying to Chicago, KORD. So let's see how long it takes for us to get out of here, and then I'll see if we can divide this video into two parts or do something like that. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's get started and let's dive into the goodness of the MD80. Alright, so here we are in the captain's seat. First things first, we need to verify that we are in the right positions. If you can see the white dot here, that means you are in the right position, camera angle and height. And that's a real thing. Pilots do make sure that they're able to see this white dot when they sit on the seat, both for the first officer, which is this white dot, and for the captain, which is this white dot. If you cannot see it, you'll have to adjust your seat so that you can. First of all, you have the EFB here, which is the electronic flight bag, and you can turn it on and off using this button. And by turning it on and off, I mean you can spawn it in and get it out of the way with this button here. Same way for the first officer, you have this little button here as well. You can do the same thing with that. So I'm going to disable the co-pilot EFB. Oh, before that, I am going to remove the yoke. So we'll be flying without a yoke today.
Got it.
I just don't like it getting into my way, because we're going to have to watch the ND when we plan our flight and all that. So I just like to get it out of the way first. Now the EFB does not need aircraft's battery to be powered. It is a separate battery that powers the EFB, so you can turn it on right now. And to turn it on, you need to press and hold the button here, and it should turn it on for you. Alright, now before we do anything, let's turn on the aircraft. So here's the battery switch. So I'll click on it to turn it on, and then click on it again to lock the battery switch on the on position. So you'll see the aircraft is powering up now slowly, which is great. So now that we have the batteries on, I would like to take the aircraft off of the battery power and get it powered by the ground power unit or the external power. So to do that, you come back to the EFB, you go to aircraft services, you go to ground, and then click on the GPU option here. Once you see it blued out, that means GPU is connected. Now you will see the external power available light on. So all you have to do is turn the external power on, and now the aircraft is fully powered. So what this does is it switches the power source from only the battery to the external power. So we have full power to the aircraft now, and we can start preparing it for our flight. Now, before we start preparing it for our flight, let me quickly go over what you can expect from the EFB while the aircraft is powering up. On the EFB, you have 5 options or 5 folders to choose from. We already saw aircraft services. Let's get in there again. Well, you can open any of these doors by clicking on them, and then close them by again clicking on them. So let's say I want to open the forward main door. I'll click on it. When it turns red, that means it is open. If I click on it again, it'll turn transparent or black again, which means it's closed. Same thing goes for all of them, and we will soon start boarding and you'll see how all of that works, right? This is all the ground services, so which fuel type you want, if you need de-icing to be done at the airport or not. When you click on fuel requested, it'll start real-time filling the fuel, and you'll see these numbers going up to match these numbers here. Now we'll be filling the fuel after I show you how the flight plan is imported into the EFB through Simbrief. We are not connecting the air starter unit, so I'll leave that off. I am going to connect AC though. So this will connect a big hose from the outside. You might have seen at the airport sometimes, which air conditions the whole aircraft. So I'll go ahead and connect that. On the third page, we have maintenance. So this will open and close stuff on our aircraft. So let's say I want to open the engine cowling on both the engines and the radar on front. So if I go out now, it should open stuff up for me and I'll be able to see through it. Same way for the engine cowling. So nice little feature there. I'll close them back again, but that's what you have in the aircraft services option here. Now let's go to the setup. Setup only has flight mode and brightness. So once you start taxiing, you change this to flight mode, which will disable some of the functions, and you have brightness, which I'm going to turn it to full all the way. On the performance, you have your V-speed calculations based on whatever input you give in the top section here. You hit calc and it will calculate the V-speeds for you. Same way for the landing, you have to enter all the information here, hit calc, and it will calculate all the landing information for you. Next is the weight and balance page. Now this is where the importing OFP starts, and I'll go over it real quick in a few minutes here, but just remember that this is all your weight and balance information from your flight. And then we have the electronic flight folder where your current flight that you've loaded in from Simbrief will show up, and it loads the acars.txt, which divides the whole flight plan into nice little sections where you can view each and every section of the flight plan differently here. That's really neat. So if I want to just see the weather, I can just real quick, I can just go to the weather and see the weather at my departure and arrival airports, and even the alternate. So yeah, that's really good. Okay, so that's all that's there in the EFB. Now let's learn how to import the flight plan into EFB and into the load manager. So let me real quick go to my Simbrief here, and I'm going to edit this flight and put a different number on it so that we know we are looking at the right flight. So let's say 2022. I'm not going to teach you how to actually build this because I'm sure you know about it, or if you don't, this is for a completely different video. We have it all set here, and let's generate the flight. Yes, so that will generate our briefing package and operational flight plan for us. Now if you go down here, you can either manually download these files and put them at the locations that I will show you, or you can use Simbrief downloader to do the same thing. So I'm going to use the Simbrief downloader here. Make sure you're copying the MDR file, the .mdr file that you see here, which is this one, to these two locations, and make sure you're copying the acars.txt file to these two locations. Make sure you have both of these files copied at these locations, and then you can hit export selected format, and that will export all of these files to the right folders that you have declared in there. Now we will open the load manager. Alright, once you have the load manager open, you can go to the settings page and make sure you have use PFPX or Simbrief for fuel and route planning, this option ticked. Otherwise it won't take the OFP as an input. So make sure you have that ticked. Then go to import OFP and select the acars.txt file for whichever flight you are currently flying. Then hit open. So that will load all the information that you have in the Simbrief OFP. Now you'll see that Simbrief does not always, it mostly adds more cargo to it. So you'll have to go ahead and adjust for a realistic amount of cargo here. So I'm going to make it 2500, 2000, which makes sense. Takeoff CG is good here. Zero fuel weight CG is good as well. Our takeoff weight is less than maximum takeoff weight, and our zero fuel weight is also less than the maximum zero fuel weight, which is good. And I'm going to make sure that I'm using the right aircraft. I'm using the American Airlines livery. You will have different liveries, so you'll have to select the right aircraft, so make sure you do that as well. Once you have that done, you click on the tick right here, and then you will get back into the sim. Now I'm going to go to the electronic flight folder, and you'll see that we still have our previous flight loaded. So I'm going to say import OFP, enter my departure, and then enter my arrival. So it will detect the acars.txt file or the MDR file from there based on my departure and arrival, and then it will load that flight plan. So you see that the flight number has now changed. So we are at the latest flight plan that we are currently running, which is great. Now I'm going to go to the weight and balance page, and again say the same, import OFP, KATL, and KORD, confirm. So we have the OFP loaded, we have the weight and balance cleared out. So I think we are pretty good to go in terms of prepping the aircraft for departure. Now before we go any further, let's start boarding, and let's also start fueling our airplane for whatever fuel we need. So our GPU is connected, our air conditioning unit is connected, so if the passengers come in, they'll be comfortable enough. Let's click on fuel requested. So you'll see that the fuel on board will start increasing. See that here? It will fill the right tank first, left, and then it will fill the center tank. We will also hit start boarding here, and it will start boarding the passengers and also boarding the cargo. Now we can go ahead and do our flows. And you can hear the background noise. Amazing, right? You can hear the passengers coming in. You'll also hear the crew doing the safety briefing and stuff every now and then. So that's a nice touch of realism that you have here. So while the aircraft is getting boarded and fueling, let's go through all our flows here. So I'm going to go to the overhead panel first, and we'll start from the bottom left here, go to the top, and then top right, and come to the bottom. It feels daunting right now, but don't worry, we will be fine. Okay, so first things first, our seatbelt signs is on auto, no smoking is on, which is great. We will quickly check the heat selector. All of this should read some value except the RAT probe. Look, we have a subscriber. Thank you. And then you turn it back on off. Now all of this will stay off. This is all ice protection like you see here, except the windshield anti-ice that will come on right now. The start pump will stay off, fuel heat will be off. We are not needing to start the APU right now, so all of these fuel pumps for all the tanks forward and aft will stay off right now. Starters will also stay off. All of this is good. We can turn on the galley power. We are not starting the APU right now. These are all the APU functions, so that's good as well. The generator switches, APU gen is on norm when we need it, and the left and right generators for the engine are also on. Yeah, sounds about right. So yeah, they are on the on position, so we are good there. You can see that we are getting external power. So this is basically a selector to read these gauges here. If you select BAT right now, we are not pulling any power from the battery, so it will show up as 0. We are pulling all the power from external GPU, so that will read some value. Great. Flight recorder, we are not going to worry about that. If you're really going into it, you can enter the day, month, flight number, and leg here, and then click on insert, and that will start your flight recorder. Automatically the flight recorder starts when you start taxiing or when you take off. I think it's when you start taxiing. So yeah, we're not going to worry about that today. The ground proximity warning, we can do a quick test on that. Looks like it is working fine. We'll do the wind shear test, which is also working fine. Now these
Steer, tailwind, steer.
Okay, so now these are the circuit breaker lights. Since we are flying in the day, we won't be using them. Again, thunderstorm lights and cockpit flood lights, we won't be using them. Anti-skid is armed, which is correct. We'll do the stall test real quick. Sounds good. Ice for test. We see all of that come up here, so that is also good. Yaw damper is set to on, which is great. This is the air conditioning panel. We have connected air conditioning externally, so we are not going to worry about this. It will stay off for now. The RAM air will be off right now, and the air conditioning shut off override will be set to auto. All of that looks good as well. And here we'll change this to standby and then go to primary and disable this light. We will be putting in the landing altitude and landing barrow only when we are landing. So right now we can just leave it as it is. So that is good. Wipers are off and flight deck door is set to auto. So it is open right now. If we do a deny on that, it will close the flight deck door. And if we do unlocked, it will open the flight deck door. I think I'm going to go ahead and just close it right now. Okay, real quick, we will look at this panel here. Looks good here, and as it should be, we are on VHF1, which is what we should be on. And if you want to call the mechanic, you have to change this to PA, and I think you have to change something to PA on the bottom right as well, and then call the mechanic. But again, we have the EFB here to do the aircraft services. I think on the P3D version you had to call the mechanic, and that used to pull up a menu which used to connect and disconnect ground power unit and stuff like that. Anyways, we don't need to worry about that here. Overhead console lights, we are not turning on any lights, so we are good here. Let's do a quick test on the cargo fire detection. All the lights are coming on and we are good. Yeah, so I think the overhead panel is set up correctly right now. Now what we are going to do is turn on the fuel X-feed valves. I'm not going to be able to reach that valve from this side, so I'll go to the co-pilot seat and turn this on. If you're not able to turn on the engine, this is probably one of the reasons. Make sure that you have this on. Once the engine is turned on, you have to turn the X-feed valves off. It basically enables the fuel cross-feeding across the tanks. I think we are good, and the next phase of the cockpit preparation would be to go through the cockpit crew checklist. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'll leave an overlay of that checklist that Leonardo has given us on the screen somewhere while I go through it. Alright, so let's go through the cockpit crew checklist now. So flight recorder, we just talked about it, we are good on that. HRS alignment, let's check that real quick. So if you go to the FMC and you click on pause init, and you enter the reference airport, which is KATL. It's okay if you don't enter the gate number here. It mostly won't take any of the gate numbers because the database, I guess, is just messed up. But what you need to do for the AHRS alignment is basically make sure that this coordinates that you are seeing besides KATL is very close to what your GNS position is, and looks like it is for us. So we'll be taking this GNS position as input here and then feeding it as the FMC position. So now the flight management computer knows where exactly you are situated on the earth. Okay, so that is done. FMS GPS checked and verified. That is fine. Emergency lights are armed. I think we did that, but let's real quick verify. Oh, we did. See, that's the use of the checklists. So emergency lights are on, cabin signs are on. I'm going to turn the seatbelt signs on as well instead of auto now. Windshield anti-ice, we turn that on. Engine sync selector, which is this right here, and it's set to off. Yeah, it's set to off, so that's fine. We did the stall warning test as well. Air conditioning shut off switch is also set to auto. Fire protection system tested. I think we need to test this as well. So I'll click the left mouse button, hold it, drag to this button here, click the right mouse button.
Fire left engine. Fire right engine. Fire left engine.
Okay, so it went through that and it's all good. TRP. I don't know what that is, so I'm going to skip it. But if anyone knows, leave it down in the comment section below. Fuel quantity, let's verify that. So 4175, 4175 and 2275, which is I think what we were supposed to be on. Yep, around same. So that is good. Altimeter and QNH, I'm going to just press B, which will tune it to our current QNH. So that is done. Fuel shutoff levers, which are these two levers right here, they are off as well. Cabin pressure lever is set to auto. So what you can do here is change it to manual, and then let me show you what it does. This is a quick little test to make sure that it's actually working. So you use your mouse wheel to change the position of this, and then once you change the lever to auto again, it should bring you back to the bottom position. This is a test to make sure that your cabin pressurization is going to work right, and it looks like it is for us. So that is great, that is done as well, and we can call this done. So our cockpit crew checklist is completed. Now the next phase of this flight is to actually have the FMC programming done. So we already put the position in, so let's go to route. Now since we have those route files loaded in, the MDR files loaded in, all you have to do is enter your departure airport and then follow it up with the arrival airport, KATL KORD, and then enter that in the company route. That will load in all your waypoints at least, but you'll still have to select your departure and arrival, and that's because usually ATC will give you a departure and arrival based on how things are going at the airport. So that is why it doesn't load that and lets you select it on the fly here, which is great. I will select the runway, which is 27 right here. Now next we are going to select the departure and arrival. So for that you hit the DEP ARR button here, go to the departure, go to the next page, and I'm already looking at the OFP on my other screen, so I know what departure we are flying, which is the PADGT2, and 27 right is already selected. So I'll go ahead and select PADGT2, and we are flying the transition, which is SMTTH. So that is good. Now those two are selected. You go again to departure arrival page, click on arrival. We are going to be doing ILS 04 right arrival, well, approach, and we will be selecting OXI8 with the transition FWA. So that is good. Once you have selected both departure and arrival, you have to hit the route button here, which will show you your full route. So you can cycle through it, go to the next page, and it'll show you what you're going to fly. Once you have everything done, you make sure you hit activate, and then you make sure you hit execute as well. So now if you look at the ND here, and by the way, this is where you change the ND range from. If you look at the ND here, you have the flight plan all loaded in. Okay, so with that out of the way, if you go to legs page, you will be able to see your full flight plan. Great. If you want to go back to where you were at, you can hit init ref, or you can just hit menu AFMC and then index and performance. Oh well, index and I think positions where we were at, and then route. Yeah, this is where we were at. Okay. Now the next step is to fill out all the performance information. So for this, I am going to go back to our captain seat, open the EFB here. So the first thing that we need to fill out is the block fuel, which is 10.7 here. So that is 10.7. I need to enter the scheduling as well. So for us, we'll be doing normal scheduling, which is /n. There's also an option to do /a, which is alternate scheduling, and that is used for, I think, flying to alternate airports, stuff like that. I don't know the details of alternate scheduling, but usually you would just be flying normal. So you do that, and then you enter the zero fuel weight, which would be in the weights here, 51.3. So that's 51.3, the zero fuel weight. And you'll find the reserves in OFP again. If you go down here, it's the FINRES, which is 1.244. So that's 1.2. Put that in the reserve. Alright, that's good. Now our cruising altitude is, let's see what that's going to be. Looks like it is going to be 320. Okay, it's going to be flight level 320. So we'll go ahead and enter that, flight level 320. That's in. Now let's enter our cruise winds, which is average wind right here. So it'll be 300 knots. Sorry, heading 300 and 075. So 75 knots coming from 300. So I'll enter 300, 075. Now we'll enter our cruising outside air temperature, which is going to be let's see, around, I would say around minus 54 or something. Yeah, minus 54 is what we'll go with. Doesn't have to be super accurate. And that will populate the ISA dev as well. So that is the deviation from the standard temperature that it knows from the lookup tables, basically. So that's that. We have the perf init page, performance initialization page all filled up. Now we go to the takeoff page, where we enter our V1, VR and V2. So how do you calculate those? We have already talked about it. We go to the performance page. So you enter your airport here, which is already entered, 27 right, flaps optimum. So we let it select what flaps it wants to select. The wind is, let's see what the winds are at. Weather, so it's 330 at 8 knots. Okay, so it's 330 at 8 knots. And QNH is, we have just set that here, so 1019. That's 1019. Perfect. And the outside air temperature is this one, SAT, that's 17. It's 17. And the takeoff weight is the last thing that we need to enter, which if we go to weight and balance, oh, you know what? Yeah, let's go to weight and balance and get the takeoff weight. It's 65,454. Alright, so that is 65,454. And then we hit calculate. So that is going to calculate our V speeds for us, and it will also calculate the V flap, V slat. V flap is where you take the flaps out, and V slat is where you take the slats out. So that is it. Now we enter these V speeds into our flight management computer, which is 150, 155, 164. So I'm going to do that right away. 150 is V1, 155 is V rotate, and 164 is V2. While we are here, we will set our speed bug to V2 plus 10. So that is 164 plus 10. So that's 174. Can't do math. Let's also, while we are here, set the altitude to 10,000 feet, which will be what we'll be climbing at. And once we reach like around 4,000, 5,000, we'll change this to our cruising altitude, so that's fine. We'll turn the flight directors on right here. Okay, so we have the takeoff performance information all entered in. One thing that we should have done right away after getting power to the aircraft is the position lights, which is right here, position and strobe lights. So make sure you turn those on as soon as you have power to the aircraft, like as soon as you have the external power connected. So now at this state, I think we are good to start the APU. Let's bring this alive. So if you pull on it, this will slowly start to level out. You might have to do it a couple of times. We're good on that. We'll rotate it to make sure that we are totally aligned, which is great now. And at this point, I think we are good to select or we are good to start the APU. So for that, again, parking brakes is on, so we are good there. For starting the APU, you need to start the start pump. You need to turn on any of the two, or actually just turning on one pump works, but I usually turn on two pumps. I've turned on the left, aft and forward pumps here. Once you're done with that, you go to the master APU switch, bring it to run, and then bring it to start, and then hold it there until you see the exhaust gas temperatures rising here, which they should in a bit. Okay, so you see that needle moving, so I'm going to leave it and it will spring back to the run position. Now we will wait for the APU to power up completely, and once it does power up completely, you will see that the APU power available light will come on as well, a blue light, just like you have on the external power. You hear it spooling up. You see the light come on. So now what we will do is, since we have APU power, I am going to switch to APU power now, since we are almost getting ready to do the push and start, and I'll turn off the external power. So I don't need the GPU connected anymore, so I'll turn off the external power. I'll turn on APU air, and I'll turn on the AC units as well. So now we are not reliant on anything external. So what we can also come in and do here is go to aircraft services, go to ground, and then disconnect the AC unit, disconnect the ground power unit with it as well. I'm not sure why it came back on again. I think it will go away as we go through our other procedures. But anyways, you have to disconnect the ground power and the AC unit, because now you are reliant on the APU to do all that for you. So now that you have the APU on, for our takeoff, we will have to turn on the auxiliary hydraulic pumps, and we'll also have to turn on the trans air. So that is on. We have enough hydraulic fluid for on both the sides, and we also have enough hydraulic pressure. So you'll see that the flaps are up and retracted now, which is one of the things that we need to verify, which is good. Going back to the captain's seat, let's quickly verify that our trims are all centered, which they are, both rudder and elevator trim. Pneumatic X feeds are again verified on, which we'll be needing for the engine start. Need to do before we can get out of here. Now it's getting a little bit dark, so let's see how the lights look on this airplane. I'll turn on the panel lights. Wow. And the floodlights here. Amazing. Look at that. Great. And the panel lights here. Wow, that's bright. Turn that down a little bit. Okay. We are good and all lit. The external power won't disconnect, which I think it will eventually. I'm just not sure why it's not. Probably making some mistake here. But anyways, let's run through the before start checklist after I complete prepping the aircraft for startup. So I am going to turn on all the fuel pumps and turn the engine system switch to B. You can either turn it to A or B, doesn't matter. I usually cycle between the two. So that is good. Let me also turn on some of these overhead lighting. Amazing. Let's go through the before start checklist. Again, I'm going to leave it on the screen so that you guys are aware what I'm looking at. So parking brakes are set. EFB is not in flight mode, but now it is. Pneumatic pressure is fine. Engine ING selector is on system B, which it should be. Left center fuel tank pump, all of the fuel tank pumps are on. Anti-collision lights are now on. What else? APU norm, it is on norm, I think. Yeah, it is on norm. Air conditioning supply switch is off. We need to turn that off before we start the engine, so the passengers will not get ventilation for a little bit, but that's okay. Pneumatic X-feed valves, the cross-feed valves are as they should be, open, and thrust levers are idle as they should be. Before start checklist completed. I've called in the tug for pushback now. It's going to attach and then we'll go from there.
Okay, sir. The bypass pin is installed. All doors and hatches.
I realized I
closed
did
and all
not show you
ground
guys the
equipment is
external
removed.
model, but that's how it looks like.
The
It
parking
is
brakes are set.
amazing.
You may lift.
Parking brake set. Lifting the aircraft.
Okay, let's get back in.
Stand.
Alright, I think we can go ahead and push back now while we start the engines.
Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead.
We are cleared for start and push. Parking brakes set.
Okay. Cleared for push start. Please release parking brake.
Parking
Release
brakes
parking
are
brake.
released.
Commencing pushback. You can start the engines in sequence.
It will start in the sequence.
Alright, we have everything prepped to start the engine, so I'm going to go and start the right one first. So you click the starter switch, hold it on the on position until the N2 here goes to around 20, and that's when you feed fuel to it. So we'll turn the fuel cutoff valve to on. There we go, it's at 20. You will hear the engine spool up. Right engine is on. Turn that off. Open this up and turn on the left engine. Again, looking at here, looking at the N2, as soon as it goes to 20 or 21 something, I'm going to feed fuel. There we go. I'm going to stop right at this line. We have to go here, turn left, and then line up on the runway. Look at that nice sunset we have going. It chose the right time to fly. Weather is very clean though. Okay, I think we can stop push back
Okay,
here.
pushback completed.
Don't go too
Please
far
set your
back.
parking brake.
Setting the
Parking
parking
brake set.
brake.
Parking brake set. Lowering aircraft.
Ground. Startup is complete. You may disconnect.
Roger. Good engine start. Clear it to disconnect. See you at the side. Have a good flight.
Holding position waiting for the visual. Thank you and goodbye.
Okay, parking brake is set. Engines are now on, so we can turn this off. We can turn the starter pump off as well. We can also turn the APU left and right buses off because we're not pulling the power off of APU anymore. We can turn on the air conditioning again so that our passengers are nice and happy. And what else? Yeah, we can turn on the my bad, we can turn on the APU air, and we can turn off the APU now as well. And we will turn on the pitot heat to captain, which is good. APU is still on, but it will slowly turn off, and you'll see this light extinguish. Oh, now we have the ground power out as well. I'm not sure what I did wrong there, but yeah, now we are good. GPU should be disconnected if we look at the EFB here. Services, ground. Yep, it is disconnected. Yep, not sure what I did wrong. If anyone knows, you know where to put it. Comments section. Alright, I think we are good for the after start checklist. So I'm going to turn off the pneumatic feed valves. I'll try to cover as much as I can here before we go through the checklist, because checklist is not to do stuff while you're looking at it. You should have already done it, and it's only to verify that you've done it. I can hear the APU spool off, which is good. APU is turning off here. Yeah, see, the light has gone off. The heading to 270 as well. Alrighty, I think we can go through the after start checklist now. Engine ignition selector is on off. Pitot and static heaters are on captain, which is good. Anti-ice switch as required. I don't think we need any anti-ice right now. 17 degrees, pretty good. Air conditioning supply switches are on auto, so they are good. Door cue light. I don't know what. I think it is this one, right? Which is off. So I think we are good. Hydraulic system looks good. We are going to keep the auxiliary hydraulic pump on for at least for takeoff, and we are going to keep the other hydraulic pumps to high for takeoff as well. Checked and set. Alright, after start checklist completed. While we are at it here, let's also go through the taxiing checklist real quick. APU air switch is off, we don't need it. TRP ART is auto as required, we are good. We're going to change the V-speed bugs real quick. So if you click on it, it will automatically set it to whatever you have in the FMC. So that is now set. Flight instruments are all good. FMC and everything is also checked. Flight controls, I mean, we can do a real quick check on it. Full right, full left, pulled up and pulled down. Rudder full left, rudder full right. Flaps and slat lever. That's one thing that we have forgotten. Let me get this out of the way. So let's go to the EFB, weight and balance, and our takeoff CG is 15. So let's enter 15 here, which is already entered. Great. And let's go to performance and select the flap setting of 3.5, which it is not. So let's move that to 3.5, which means our trim is, this is where our trim should be set to. So let's go ahead and set it to that. The sound just lets you know that the trim wheel is moving. Perfect, we are good here. Flight controls check. Flaps and slats lever, what was it here? 3.5, right? So yeah, we need to go to 3.5 here. I think we are good here. It's turning dark really fast. Let's get out of here soon. Yeah, aileron, rudder, stab trim, everything was 0. We had already checked that. Takeoff briefing. We are going to be taking off from 27 right, and we are going to be following the what was that departure? PADGT2 departure. We have the initial altitude set to 10,000. It'll follow whatever restrictions we have in here as it goes. Speed is set. Flight directors are on. I think we are good. Cabin report. We'll assume that we have obtained it. So taxiing checklist complete. We have the nose lights on as well. I think we can go ahead and start taxiing to the runway. So one of my first impressions was if you have flown on the I don't know, FS Lab 320 or PMDG 737 on any other sims, even FBWA 320 on MSFS, this will feel really heavy and sluggish. So be prepared for that. You'll have to push the throttle quite a bit. I'm literally at what, 40% N1 right now, and it's barely moving. So it's kind of sluggish. It'll take time to spool up and get going, but extremely fun to fly. It's a huge aircraft, so you can expect that. I also find it hard to like align it to the center line here, because since the aircraft is so long and I barely fly big aircrafts on flight sim, it's really hard to predict where the nose wheel is going to go. Usually the tip that people give is over understeer and then come in, just like I'm doing right now, and then just come in. But yeah, you guys can roast my taxiing here. I'm really bad at this. Beautiful sunset. Great time to depart from here. So I'm going to stop at the holding point and then do the before takeoff checklist, so that we can do a quick rolling takeoff, or you won't have to verify or do anything while we are on the runway. So let's hold here, put the parking brakes on, and I'm going to pull up the before takeoff checklist. Let me verify. Okay, so first of all, our auto brakes will be set to take off and we'll be arming them. Our speed brakes will come on or armed, and let's see. Takeoff runway is verified. We are on the holding point of 27. Takeoff data has been confirmed. We have all the V speeds entered. Fuel balance is checked. We are balanced. Brake temperatures, I think it's here. Yeah. Oh, that's brake pressure. Brake temperatures are here. Let me check those real quick. We are good there. Engine ignition select to both, so we need to go on both here. And EOAP, I'm not sure what that is. So yeah, if anyone knows what EOAP is, comment down below. Again, not an expert, but I'm just trying to get you guys going on this, so I might make mistakes. Just correct me. Always open to suggestions and corrections. Okay, before takeoff checklist is complete. So let's turn off the parking brakes and let's get rolling on 27 left. Oh, 27 right. I'm going to keep the yoke off because I just don't like it interfering with my ND. See, this was a good turn, I think. But now I'm gonna mess up centering. Maybe not. Overturn and then center. Yeah, perfect. I think that worked out quite well. Should be pretty much ready to go. Let's turn the nose lights to on. Let's turn the wing lights, landing lights on as well. Let's turn the ground flood lights to full and nacelle. All the lights are on, basically. It's all lit. Okay, so for takeoff we are going to do 50% N1 and then increase it to the takeoff thrust. I've clicked on takeoff here, so that means it will set my EPR, pressure ratio, to 1.95, which is what it is. I'm going to click on nav and VNAV climb. Well, we can't enable VNAV climb right now, but we'll do that later. So basically we wanted to follow the FMC path, so that's the setting that we are going to use. We'll be enabling nav and we'll be enabling VNAV climb. Alright, let's go. Parking brakes are out. We'll go 50% on N1 and then we are going to hit the button here, which is the takeoff thrust setting button.
Cross check. Takeoff thrust set. V1. Rotate.
That was a little bit longer than I had expected. But we are up and running. Gear up.
Gear up. Lights out.
Okay, we are up now, so I think we can enable nav. We can also enable VNAV. Auto throttle can come on and autopilot can come on as well. We can take the flaps out now.
Flap 0.
I shouldn't have done up and retract. Our slat retraction speed is 200, so I should have waited for the slats to retract at 200, but I did it anyways, so that was a mistake. Shouldn't have done that. I just accidentally clicked that switch. So it'll show you what V speed you are climbing at here, and it will show you here as well. It is detecting that the speed is low because our target speed is 250 here, below 10,000 feet. I'm going to go to the climb thrust now.
Climb thrust set.
That's our outer marker. I will disarm the speed brake. I will turn the auto brakes to off. I will turn the engine selector switches to off, and the lights can come off as well. And keep this on. Okay, now we can go through the after takeoff checklist. Brake temperatures are still good and check. Landing gears up, lights are out, all these three lights are out. Auto brake is off, speed brake lever is retracted, flaps and slats are up, we are good there, and engine ignition select is on off. Center fuel tank pumps, we still have fuel in the center tank, so we still have the pumps on, so that's good. And altimeters are all matching, we will be changing them to standard at 18,000 feet, so we are good as well. After takeoff checklist completed. So yeah guys, I'm going to end it on that note here, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to be coming up with a lot more, you know, smaller videos to give you some tips and tricks around this product. It has a lot of stuff going on, a lot of details involved. Yeah, while we're looking at it, let's change the hydraulic pumps to low, and we can turn off the auxiliary pumps as well. But yeah, like I was saying, there is a lot to look at on this aircraft, there's a lot to learn on this aircraft, so I'll definitely be coming up with shorter videos that can give you some insights into some of the processes that you can follow, and that'll make your life easier to use the MD-80. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and please make sure that you like the video, and also please subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel a lot, and it helps me a lot. So yeah, thank you guys for all the support, and I will see you on the next video. Postscript Ved here, I forgot to mention that there is a whole bunch of manuals available for this product along with the release. So you'll have all the quick start guides and stuff that'll teach you what's going on with like the basic stuff, and then you also have volume 1 and volume 2 of detailed manuals that covers pretty much all the subsystems involved in this aircraft. So make sure that you spend some time, go through all of these. I mean, this video was to, you know, get you started on it, and then you can build upon that and gain more and more knowledge in every subsystem. That's what I'm going to do, and I'll definitely create videos on each of these as I go through them. So stay tuned on the channel, and I will see you on the next one.